Okay, so I have, what we just did with those boards is critically important to understand in order to learn this. This is a very, very famous process. I mean, it's really awesome. And it works for everything, okay, for completing the square. Before I actually get into how to complete a square, we're going to just talk briefly. Remember, on the boards, I gave you something like this. X plus 4 squared equals 16, right? And we said, oh, that's so quick and easy to solve because I can square root both sides, and x plus 4 is equal to plus or minus 4. And then I subtract 4, so x is equal to negative 4 plus 4, or negative 4 minus 4, so 0 or negative 8, right? So it's so easy. If I have a perfect square here, it's so easy to solve. It's so easy to solve a quadratic equation if you have a perfect square on one side. That means the perfect square has to be isolated. I can't have this perfect square plus 10 equals something. I can't do that. It's got to be perfect square all by itself equals something else. Then it's really, really easy to solve. Okay, so if this is a perfect square, since I want a perfect square, now we have to ask ourselves, how do we create a perfect square? Okay? Since you all understand how the perfect square actually is useful, you see that? It's very, very quick and very easy. All right, if you get something, let's say I gave you this, x squared plus 12x plus something. And I said that's something. I want this to be a perfect square. All right, so this is what you do. To make a perfect square, divide, remember this is a, b, and c, ax squared plus bx plus c, right? So divide b by 2, then square that number. To make a perfect, did you write all that down? That's really important. It's like key. This is like keys. It's essential for everyone. To make a perfect square, divide b by 2, then square that number. So this is a positive 12. The sign is very important. The sign is positive 12. What's half of positive 12? Positive 6. So I'm going to write a positive 6 here and put it in a circle just for a second. You'll see why that's actually useful to do that, to put half of positive 12 here in the circle. Now, what is 6 squared? 6 squared? 36, right? So 36. We just created a perfect square. Now, let's try factoring this. Okay, this is a perfect square, so supposedly we have x and x. I need factors of 36 that add up to 12. 6 and 6. So 6 times 6 is 36. 6 plus 6 is 12. They're both positive. So it's going to be plus 6 plus 6. Oh, well that's the same as x plus 6 squared. Right? Yes?
So is that your answer?
So yeah, your answer would be if I said fill in the blank, find the C, right? Because that is in your C position. Find the C that makes this a perfect square. The answer would be 36. And then if I asked you to factor it, then the answer would be x plus 6 squared. Now, interestingly, well actually, I won't even say that yet. I'm going to erase this part. I'm going to do another one over here. Now let's say we have x squared minus 8x plus and I said I want to make that a perfect square, what would I do? Half of negative 8. It's negative 8. Half of negative 8 is what? Half of negative 8 is negative 4, right? So negative 4, notice I'm writing down negative 4 there in a circle. Now, what's negative 4 squared? Negative 4 times negative 4 is 16. So I'm adding 16. Now that is, we just created a perfect square. Let's factor and just be sure. So we have x and x. Factors of positive 16 that add up to negative 8. Well, positive means they have to both be the same sign. This means they have to both be negative. What would it be? Negative 4, right? Negative 4 times negative 4 is still 16. Add them together, it's negative 8. So it's minus 4 minus 4, which is the same as x minus 4 squared. Right?
Why is it negative?
Because this is negative.
Oh.
Right? I'm looking for factors of 16 that equal negative 8. Right? Now, remember I told you to write this number of half of b and put a circle around it? The reason why is because you took all that time to figure it out. You might as well write it down because look, plus 6x plus 6 squared minus 4x minus 4 squared. So immediately you know you don't even have to factor it, but that is factored. It's going to be that in there squared, right? That's why I write that. That's my habit. I don't know. You guys may not want to do that, but then it just, you just. So let's just do a couple, and then we're going to move on to the next step. X squared minus 2x plus what? Violet. Oh. Well, tell me anyway. So half of this. So the half of negative 1, right? Okay. Negative 1 squared is, yeah, positive 1, right? And so what would it be? Right, x minus 1 squared. Exactly. Beautiful. Let's do another one over here. Just make sure everybody gets it. X squared plus 10x plus, okay, Jason, what would that be? Half of this is, so plus 5, I'm going to write it in a circle. 5 squared is 25. Pretty easy. Now factor for me. It's x plus 5 squared. Right? Really easy, right? Get it? Okay. Okay. Now, why is this important? So far, I have given you problems that can be factored. I have given you very nice, neat, wonderful, sweet, beautiful problems, quadratic expressions or equations that can have a very easy solution, right? All whole numbers, nothing to worry about, no square roots, pretty much it's pretty easy. All right, now completing the square, and I'm not going to, and completing the square is what you're going to use to solve those, oftentimes. So, first of all, well, maybe to begin with, I'll give you one that does solve evenly and cleanly, just so you can get, because completing the square will work on everything. But there's one rule for completing the square. If this is your formula, y is equal to ax squared plus bx plus c. In order for completing the square to work, a must equal 1. Completing the square will work on every single problem there is. But a has to equal 1, which means you have to make a equal 1 if it doesn't. You have to divide everything by that number and make it equal 1. And sometimes that's a nightmare. And then, so there's another way to solve things besides completing the square in those nightmare situations. So, let's say I gave you something like this. And we know how to factor anyway, but we'll just do it anyway. Using completing the square. X squared plus 3x plus 2. Oh, wait a minute, let's not do that. X squared, I want to start simple. X squared plus 4x plus 4. Ah, that's a perfect square. I'm sorry. Sorry, hang on. 4x squared plus 4x minus yeah. Is that right? Is that going to work? X, oh, my brain. Okay. Let me think. Factors of negative 12, so then, yes, it could be 2 and 6, right? Positive 6 and then 2. Yeah, so that works, right? Now, I'm going to say that is equal to 0. And I'm asking you to complete the square. Use completing the square. To complete the square, this is the part I have to put. I have to have something here, right? So I don't want this here. I want to get rid of this.
Add 12 to both sides.
So I'm going to add 12 to both sides, but I'm going to leave a space here. Add 12 to both sides. So make sure this is in your notes, because this is going to be really important. Alright, so I'm going to have x squared. I'm going to try to go a little slower now, because this is really important to get. X squared plus 4x space. And that's always, by the way, it's always going to be a plus here. It's always going to be a plus to be a perfect square. It has to be a plus there. Equals 12. Alright, now we're going to use our completing the square method. What's half of 4? Positive 4.
2.
Positive 2. So plus 2, circle. Alright, what's 2 squared? 4. Beautiful. I just added 4 to this side. What do I have to do to the other side?
Add 4.
I have to add 4 here. That's really important. So I added 4 here, so I have to add 4 here. Okay? So I've now created a perfect square. X plus 2 squared. Right? I did half of this, x plus 2 squared. Can you guys see it? Equals 12 plus 4 is 16. Now I just take the square root of both sides. Right? The only thing complicated to get here was completing the square and adding what I added to one side to both sides. And then I've got this, which you already all know how to do. You square root. We've got x plus 2 is equal to plus or minus 4. So subtract 2. We've got x is equal to negative 2 plus 4 or negative 2 minus 4, which is equal to 2 or negative 6. So that would be your answers, right? Clear? Clear as mud, right? We're going to do a few. We'll do a few. Alright, so let's say we did x squared. Let me think. Alright, so here we go. Here's the next one. We've got x squared plus 6x plus 8 equals 0. To complete the square, I want nothing in my C spot. I want to move it out of the way. So I'm moving C away. So I'm subtracting 8. We've got x squared plus 6x plus something equals negative 8 plus something, right? That's something I'm going to put on both sides. So half of 6. So Celestina, half of 6. Okay, so positive 3. 3 squared is 9. So I'm adding 9 to this side. What do I have to do to the other side? Add 9. Okay, so now I have x. Now this is now a perfect square. And I can factor it as x plus 3 squared, right? X plus 3 squared equals 1. So then I'm going to square root both sides. And I've got x plus 3 is equal to plus or minus 1. Subtract 3. So that means x is either equal to negative 3 plus 1 or negative 3 minus 1, which is negative 2 or negative 4. Just to 5, you guys getting it? Making sense? All right, so far, I'm only going to give you ones with a is equal to 1, because I'm not going to go to the other extreme yet. But what if I gave you this? X squared plus 8x equals negative 15. Oh shoot, they didn't give me a C. Oh. Oh wait, that's okay. That's what I want, right? I mean, I want my space to be blank for my C, so it's all over there, so I don't have to worry. So I just need to rewrite it so I have a space to put something in, right? So it's going to be x squared plus 8x plus space equals negative 15 plus space. So half of 8. Christian, half of 8 is 4. So positive 4. 4 squared is 16. Add 16 to both sides, right? So now I'm going to factor this as x plus 4 squared equals 1. Piece of cake, right? X plus 4 is equal to plus or minus 1. So that means subtract 4, x is equal to negative 4 plus 1, or negative 4 minus 1. So negative 4 plus 1 is negative 3, or negative 5.
Wait, Gary.
Yes.
Oh. Okay.
Right? So that's how they work. Now, if I gave you one, last one, I've got a new pen. Yes. Now, let's say I give you one that doesn't have a perfect solution, like you can't factor it with all the things you know so far. You can factor it with this. So let's do one. We know, let's see, let's think of something that doesn't have a perfect factor. X squared plus, I don't know, 2x plus 10, right, equals, or actually we'll say minus 10. Let's see. Minus 10 equals 0. I don't think that has a factor. 2 and 5. No. Okay, good. So that doesn't work. So let's try it. So we're going to move our 10 over. We're going to add 10. Add 10. X squared plus 2x plus space equals 10 plus space. Right? Half of 2, Teddy? 1. So it's positive 1. 1 squared is? 1 times 1 is 1. Add 1 to both sides. I have x. Now I'm going to factor this. It's going to just be x plus 1 squared equals 10 plus 1 is 11. So now I use that same little trick, square root both sides. X plus 1 is equal to plus or minus the square root of 11. Subtract 1 from both sides. X is equal to negative 1 plus or minus the square root of 11, and that is my answer.
So you don't write out minus 1 and plus 1?
You can, or you can just write it like that. That's okay. When you're dealing with square roots and you're leaving it like that, it's okay to write it as plus or minus. It's just that when it's a negative 1 plus or minus 5, they're both whole numbers. So you're supposed to give me the answer. Tell me what each one is. But in this case, most of the time this is acceptable. The only time it isn't is when you're trying to graph it. And then you'd have to use your calculator. Find out the square root of 11 is 3 point something, right? And add it to negative 1 and subtract it from negative 1 and give me answers. But most of the time that's acceptable. So that is completing the square. So I got the homework. So you guys want to know this really, really well. I guarantee you, you will never take an SAT test or an NW. Well, I won't say about NWA. Never take a standardized test for these kind of questions. They
Oh, yeah.
So who's missing?